Hi, I'm Sandy Zuniga, the founder of Colorado Springs Town Tidings. Be in the know, on the go for all things Colorado Springs, delivered right to your inbox. Today, in our local business spotlight, I'm excited to introduce Courtney DeMatteo, a life alchemist and life coach based in El Paso County.
Mhm.
Courtney blends science and spirituality to help her clients transform their lives, overcome past traumas, and unlock their true potential. Join
That's
me as we dive into her unique approach and the power impact she's making for our local community. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you for that intro.
You're very welcome. So, you service El Paso County,
Mhm.
but you also, we'll get into it in a few minutes. You go beyond the county and just meet people where they're at, where
I
they're
do.
most comfortable. And
Yep.
so, tell me, did you grow up in Colorado Springs?
I didn't. I'm actually originally from Connecticut. I've been here for just over 10 years.
Oh, wow. How
Mhm.
did you come by that and get here in this area?
It's such a funny story. I keep teasing my mom. It's because she played John Denver for me my entire life growing up, and I just kept hearing about that Rocky Mountain High, and I had to see it for myself. And so I knew as a kid that I always wanted to move out to Colorado. And as a
Wow.
matter of fact, on my first date with my husband back in Connecticut, I said, "Don't get attached because I'm moving to Colorado." And we ended up dating for a year and a half. We got married, and then on our first anniversary, I actually got him out here to see Colorado. He fell in love with it too, and a year later, we moved here.
Oh, wow. That is pretty funny because I am also from the East Coast, Long
Mhm.
Island, and even though I kind of went, not from there to here, but I kept moving west and I eventually knew that I wanted to come to Colorado Springs. And my husband and I started dating, and I kind of told him I'm leaving. I don't know where, maybe Minnesota, maybe Colorado, whatever. And I tell a story a little bit different because I'll say, I'm leaving. He had family here, but didn't make the move. So I'm like, okay, I'm going. You can either stay or come with me, either way. That's not the story he would tell, but that's how I remember it. So that's kind of we're similar here. So great. So no military in the family. You just decided, okay, I'm going west.
So we do have a number of military members in our family, both my husband and myself. My sister is a former Air Force and then did the reserves for a little while. My sister-in-law is Army Reserves. My brother-in-law is retired Marine and Army Reserves. So just in our generation, we have quite a few military ties, but coming to Colorado Springs was more of a happy accident, and it just so happened that my sister got stationed here, and so we were here at the same time.
Oh, okay, great. Because a lot of people will move here because of the military, but I did run into a few people that I've interviewed that that's not the case. And it just, like you said, kind of a happy accident. It's just amazing how Colorado Springs and El Paso County is definitely a melting pot, and it's not all military, even though we have a lot of military influence here.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
great. Okay, and then what's your favorite things to do here in El Paso County?
Oh, I love the outdoors. We are so blessed with so many beautiful hiking areas. I love exploring and adventuring and getting out there. So that's definitely my most favorite thing to do is just finding new trails and dragging my kids along. They don't so much love it, but every once in a while they'll humor me and they'll come with me on a good hike.
How old are they?
9 and 6.
Okay, well, the 6-year-old, it might be a little bit much, but that 9-year-old should be out there just ready to go.
It's actually my 6-year-old who does better. She's great for a good 4 miles. My
Oh,
9-year-old
wow.
he gets a little upset after about a mile or so.
He wants the destination, huh? And
Yeah,
then get back. He wants to
yeah.
go back to his video games or something. I don't know.
Unfortunately, yes.
Great. So that's one thing you guys kind of hike as a family, or if there's a little whining, you kind of go on your own, huh?
Yes, no, if I can break off on my own and find a couple girlfriends, then
Right,
I'll do that too.
right.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's move into now what amazing things you're doing for our community and for others,
Hmm.
again with their life and how to navigate through it.
Hmm.
And I've wondered, you've mentioned blending science and magic in
Yeah.
your modality. Could you elaborate what the magic represents in your practice and why you feel it's a key component alongside science approaches?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started off with my business Crystal Clarity almost 10 years ago when I opened that, and that was Reiki and coaching, life coaching. And I'm a very science-minded person. I need to know why something works or how something works. And I, you know, kind of fell into the world of energy, but I went at it with a real skeptical approach. And I
Oh,
said, I need this proven to me. I need to really see and feel and do and understand in order for me to believe in this whole metaphysical realm. And the more that I got into it, and the more that I worked with it and met with people and learned about it, the more I realized that this really is science based, even though it seems like magic. And
uh,
so when I'm referring to the magic, I'm referring to your belief system. I'm referring to your foundation and the ideas that there are things in this world that happen that we can't see, we can't feel, we can't touch, but we know. We know that they're there. And that's the magic side. So we're working, yes, with, I'm a diehard student of psychology. I absolutely love, I will, eat a psychology book for breakfast. I just love it. But at the same time, I also know that there's so much more than just the cognitive brain, right? And so we've got to dive not just into the psychology part of it, but we need to recognize that we are energetic beings and that this energy field that we live in, that's surrounding us, that's in us, it's outside of us, it's constantly moving, it's constantly flowing. We have to be willing to recognize that just because we can't see it, it is still there and it is well proven and well founded. And so
right,
that's when I shifted from my business was Crystal Clarity to now Life Alchemy, because it
right,
is a beautiful blending of the science approach, the psychology, and what I like to call the magic. But that's the spirituality and the metaphysics of understanding that there are things that we cannot see, touch, taste, smell, but they still exist and they still are there. And so I do share with clients or potential clients when they come to me that one of the things that we both have to agree on is that there is a higher something, right?
right.
And you can call it what you want to call it. That doesn't affect how it affects you. But you do, in order to work with me, you do have to have some kind of foundational belief in a higher being, a higher source, energy, God, whatever it is. And so that's the science and the magic coming together.
Oh, great. Wow, that is a great explanation because there are preconceived notions when you say
Mhm.
magic and then they go a certain way. And
Sure.
honestly, that's not how you mean it. So I'm so glad you were able to articulate that and help us walk through that. So now you call yourself a life
Life
alchemist.
alchemist, yes.
Yes. Can you walk us through what the alchemy process actually looks like for a client and like what steps are involved in that transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. So alchemy is a modality that I use. And once upon a time, I love the romanticism of it. The once upon a time where there were the wizards and the scientists, and they didn't really understand chemistry per se, but they wanted to change lead into gold, right? That was the
Right.
basis of alchemy. But alchemy was using the science that they had at the time. And it was also blending, and they believed very strongly in magic at the time. And so they were trying to use science and magic together to blend and make gold. And I love the metaphor of that because I'm using the science and the magic and we're blending it together, and I'm helping you, guiding you into this golden life, this higher potential of yours that exists. And it really is based on the fact that once upon a time, and this, this is all psychology now, before the age of 7, your belief system was instilled in you. You were walking around in what's called the theta brainwave state, which is essentially a meditative state or a hypnosis state. And so everything that was happening around you was being soaked in by you, but you didn't have the ability to judge it yet. And so you just took it in. And so you were surrounded by people, hopefully well-intentioned people, sometimes not so well-intentioned, but even the well-intentioned people, they had a programming that they were taught that kept them in this box, right? And so this box was this big and you could never go beyond it because, it was too risky or for whatever reason. So they then passed those beliefs on to you, and you have been growing up and becoming an adult and making decisions based on the 7-year-old mind.
Right.
And so what we need to do now in order to really live into our full potential is we need to release those beliefs that have been holding us back. And then we're going to instill new beliefs that will move you forward. And so the blending again of the science and magic, there's coaching involved. And then there's also hypnosis / guided meditation. People get a little worried about the word hypnosis too, so we might want to tap into that.
I have that as my next question.
Okay. So we use a blend of coaching so that from coaching, what I do is I really gain an understanding of what do you want? We get really, really clear on that question. And that's a hard question for people to answer because for their entire lives, they're taught that they're not allowed to want, from the time you're a child, and mom, I want this and I want this and I want this, or daddy, can I have this? And the answers are, we don't have enough money, or you don't need anything else, or whatever it is. It always boils down to no. And that stops you from asking. And so
Right.
all of a sudden you become this adult who has no idea how to decide what you want. And so through the coaching, we boil it down, and I have a whole process for this, but we boil down to what do you really want out of your life? And then we go into the energy sessions where I take you through some guided meditations, and I use I'll say my intuition. I use my intuition to see what you're seeing and to guide you into a space where you can now see for yourself you living this life that you want. And when you can see this for yourself in, clear color vision, you also start to understand that you can achieve it.
Right.
And so this is that reprogramming, right? So you didn't believe you could achieve it before, but once you start seeing yourself living it in your mind, it makes it easier for you to achieve it in this reality. And so one of the principles of metaphysics is everything is created twice. It's created first in your mind, and then it's created in real life. And so the way that I teach my clients this is, just look around your room. Anything in that room first began as an idea, and then it was translated into physical form. Well, that's what we do for your life too. We need to have the idea first. We need to get really, really clear on that idea. And that's what we do in the meditation, in the guided meditation or the hypnosis. And then you can step out into your life and you can start making decisions from a higher space than you were before without all of the limitations or all of the fears that were holding you back.
Right. That's beautiful.
Was,
And
was that clear enough?
yes, very clear. And what kept going through my mind is we live very parallel kind of lives.
Mm-hmm.
As you know from my AI imagination presentation, you kind of know what happened to me as a kid and
Mm-hmm.
what switched, and that was about that age, around 7. And
Yep.
then what you didn't know is I had a fourth grade teacher, and she was this older German woman, stocky. She's built for birth, I guess. I don't know. Um, and I cried when I got her because there were two different teachers, and my brothers are twins. So one got one and one got this one, Miss Harrington. Oh my goodness. I went in there, and she told us, we're all selfish. We're asking for money for our parents and all this other stuff. And I went home and I never at that point on, what was that, fourth grade, maybe 10? I can't
Mhm.
remember, can't do the math, but I would not ask my parents for money to go to the movies with friends because I was told I was bad if I did that.
Yeah.
And, then I started working, underage just to get money so I could do something or whatever. But from that point on, it was just like, I'm bad if I ever ask.
Yeah.
And so, that was kind of funny. But then also in the presentation, I took you back to childhood, and I did this, I said the same thing.
Hmm.
Everything comes from an idea first,
Yep.
and then from there we create amazing, magical, wonderful things, but it all has to come from our imagination and an idea. So we're very much in line on,
Yes.
you have it in life, I have it in business, and it all works together. So I totally resonated with what you just said. And I know other people will in their life. We have so many blocks, and as our life, when we went through, we had other influences coming in, and that childlike wonder and possibilities
Hmm.
just goes away because of other influences. And I wish we can get that back. And it sounds like with your coaching and your
Hmm.
modalities that we can, and we can
Yes.
become that bright light, that
Hmm.
blooming flower that we were supposed to be, that
Yes.
we were basically put in the dark and covered and said, don't bloom.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, oftentimes that came out of good intentions. I know in my own life, in my own childhood, I was often told don't do certain things because I was going to make somebody else feel bad.
Right.
Right? That was going to make someone else feel bad about themselves. And so then I started to just shrink up and shrink back and hold back because I didn't want to hurt the
Yep.
other people,
Yep.
And so they were the people who were teaching me this, they were well intentioned,
Right.
but it taught me now as an adult, I had to go through all of my own alchemy and I had to change my own beliefs to understand that it's perfectly fine for me to stand up and to shine. By me standing up and shining, that's sharing my light with other people. That can inspire them to turn their own light on. By me not sharing my light, that's keeping everything in the dark.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so we need to learn those things. Even when you were talking about the money, that's a self-worth issue. That completely translates into somebody's self-worth. So if you're told, don't ask your parents for money, you're selfish when you do it or whatnot, you're actually forming a belief in your head, I'm not worth spending money on.
Yep.
And so now all of a sudden you have literally a self-worth issue.
Yep.
So you grow up, and I had the same thing, and this is terrible, but I refused to buy myself clothes. So in my 30s, I was still wearing clothes that I was wearing in high school and it wasn't, you know, it was because I refused to spend money on myself, and that was a self-worth issue.
Yes. The funny thing is, I've got 30-year-old clothes in my closet that I'll wear until they fall apart. And then
Yeah.
when I get holes and stuff, and I go, okay, I guess I got to replace it. But it's
Yep.
the whole thing of I did the same thing. Plus, you worked hard to have money to afford those clothes, and now they have to
Hmm.
last a lifetime if they can. Don't buy the trendy stuff. You got to buy the
Right.
stuff that is there because it's got to last. And
Right. It's
so
got to be sensible.
that is so, I mean, I'm telling you, Courtney, we must have been separated at birth or something. I don't know. We just went a little different paths, but we are parallel.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yep.
it's funny. I mean, it's enjoyable, our conversation, because it's like, I can see myself. Okay, well, thanks for that. That was very
Mhm.
interesting part of our conversation. So, how do specific practices like Reiki and hypnosis, so we're going to touch on that, contribute to the life alchemy transformation?
So I offer Reiki during the session, and Reiki is basically clearing your energy field so that you're open to receive. And so the start of the session begins with Reiki. And what I'm doing is balancing your energy centers. If chakra is an okay word, I'll use chakra, but
Okay.
I'm balancing your energy centers so that you are calm and you are relaxed, and we're taking you out of that fight or flight that everybody walks into my office in or comes into the Zoom session with. And we're bringing you into a space where you can just relax and be yourself. And that's what we need in order to take you to the places that we're going to take you. And so it starts with Reiki and balancing your energy. So hypnosis is actually what I'm doing. I laugh, I giggle at myself because once upon a time, I was the person who went to a hypnosis session on stage, and I sat in the audience and said, "Well, I can't be hypnotized. Nobody can hypnotize me, but I'm far too in control of myself in order to be hypnotized." Right? And I had that stigma. And then I started to
What a false
realize,
narrative, huh?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the truth. I was right. I could not be hypnotized because I was blocking it and I was stopping it. I wasn't willing to be hypnotized, and that's why I couldn't be hypnotized. And that's what I really want people to understand is there's this idea that hypnosis means I can make you do things that you don't want to do, and that's not true at all. Hypnosis, you are very, very alert and very, very aware. You're actually more aware of your surroundings in hypnosis than when you're walking around in this beta brainwave that we're in right now, right? So hypnosis, you're going to drop down into alpha and then you drop down into theta. But what hypnosis does is it makes you more suggestible to those ideas that you want to install. And so I cannot make you believe something you don't want to believe, and I cannot make you do something that you don't want to do. But what I can do is take all of those really beautiful ideas that you gave me during our coaching session, and I can install them into your subconscious so that your subconscious stops limiting you from making decisions that are keeping you small. And
Ah,
so everything that I do while you're under hypnosis is with your permission and your words. I'm using your words to install these ideas into your brain. We have this subconscious that, believe it or not, we are in our subconscious 95% of the day because everything that we do truly is out of habit.
right.
And it's 95% of what we're doing is habit, is habitual. And so that's our subconscious running our day, where we think we are consciously running our day, but we're not. And so we've got to get into that subconscious, which, if you're old enough to remember cassette tapes,
Of
you
course.
have a cassette tape, right, that's running in your brain constantly.
Yep.
And what we do in hypnosis is we rewrite that cassette tape. So now you have a new operating system that's being installed. And hypnosis is the fastest way to do it. When you're doing affirmations, you're doing the same thing, but affirmations are going to take, really, the truth about affirmations is they can take about 300 days to
Right.
set in. Where hypnosis, it can be a one and done session. At
Yeah.
most people need 3 sessions, and then it's done. They've created the new habit, they've created the new belief system. And
Huh.
so it's really a very quick way
A
to,
fast track.
right, to do the reprogramming versus, therapy that's going to take
Right.
2 to 5 to 7 years, or coaching, which used to, for my clients, used to take 3 to 6 months. Now in these hypnosis sessions, they can get off the table in one session and be the person that they wanted to be in the first place.
Right. That when we're during our day, when we're in the habitual motion, it's also
Mhm.
comfort, that
Yes.
we're comfortable there because it's
Yes.
we're doing it without even thinking.
Yes, there are certain rules of the mind, and one of the rules of the mind is the mind loves the familiar.
Yes.
And so we need to make familiar what you want so that you'll lean into what you want. Because right now, the reason why you're not going after it is because it's unfamiliar and it's uncomfortable. And your
Right.
brain wants to keep you comfortable. It's one of the survival tactics
Right.
that it's evolved to do.
Yeah, for better or worse, it's like, I was saying for me, I am way out of my comfort zone doing certain things. And, it's just like people ask me, okay, are you ready for the presentation or whatever? And I say, no, but I'm going to do it anyway. And, it
Good.
is what it is.
Yeah.
So, do you, when people come to you, do you think that you said you get them into the state where they are become their true self. You get
Hmm.
them down to that.
Yeah.
Do you feel that a lot of people that come, there's a blockage that it's not okay to be their real self? And that's what you have to
Oh,
get through?
absolutely. Absolutely. You've been taught your entire life that it's not okay to be yourself. You are supposed to comply with your parents. You are supposed to follow the rules at school. You are supposed to do what your boss tells you to do, despite the fact that you don't want to do it. You are constantly being barraged with these messages
And
that it's not
society
okay to be
tells
you.
us a certain way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're constantly being told that it's not okay to be you. And
Right.
so that is absolutely something that we work on because I teach every one of my clients that you are a divine being, born of a divine creator. You've been put on this earth on purpose with a purpose.
Right.
And because you are born in the image of the divine creator, you also have the same power that the divine creator used to create heaven and earth. You have that same power in your own hands. You have that same power to create. And you are far more powerful than anybody has ever told you.
Right. I
And
think,
that is the step into becoming yourself.
yeah, and I think that is such a wonderful gift you have to help others to get to that point. I know I've been working on my own stuff, and
Hmm.
there is a point with what I'm working on now. I am able to be more me than I've ever been my entire life, and it is so freeing. But it
Yeah.
took me 50 years or whatever to get there, and now it's like, if I'm gone tomorrow, it won't
Hmm.
matter either way. So why not
Hmm.
just be me? And whoever resonates with me, great, come on. If you don't, it's
Hmm.
okay too. But for the first time in my life, I feel like it's okay to be me. And, some of the people in my life are like, who am I talking to? It's hilarious. So I love that you help people uh, because it depends on where they are in their life and what
Yeah.
they're doing, whether they're ready to accept that and accept themselves or
Hmm.
not. And
Hmm.
there are so many blocks. And I think when you become your authentic self and can express yourself, I mean, assuming everybody is genuinely kind and caring and,
Hmm.
and not nefarious, if you become yourself, that is a ripple effect on other people around you that you don't know, but
Hmm.
now it is not just a freeing, but a loving
Yeah.
part of yourself because you don't have to hide, shrink. You can be you, and
Yes.
that is wonderful. So
Yes.
thank you for doing what you do. That is helping us just be better as a
Hmm.
society, in my
Hmm.
opinion.
Hmm. Absolutely. And that's honestly my mission is bringing the collective consciousness together to understand that we are one, right? This whole idea of separation, it's an illusion. We are divine beings born of the divine creator, and every single one of us has been born in the image of that divine creator, which means that divine creator has as much of you in it, him, he, she, whatever you want to use,
Right.
as me, as every other of the millions, billions, is it, people that are
Right,
on the earth right
right.
now, right? Every single one of us are born of that. And so, to be very honest with you, I don't believe that there's a single person who is born with a nefarious intention. The
Yeah.
nefarious intentions come from being hurt
Oh,
and from being mistreated. And that's where, that's where the healing needs to happen. And a healed person is a loving person.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, that is a great perspective to look at it that I hadn't. So thank you for opening my eyes
Oh,
on that.
absolutely.
Great. So, what's a common breakthrough moment you witness when helping clients face past traumas or blocks?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say when my clients can get to forgiveness.
Ah,
That's always the most beautiful when they can recognize, and here's the forgiveness, right? This is a tough word because people have been taught that it means letting somebody else off the hook, or that it
ah,
means that what they did was okay. You're making it okay. And that's not true. That's not true at all. Forgiveness is freedom. Forgiveness is letting yourself off the hook for hanging on to the rope or the tether between you and that other person,
ah,
right? Or between you and that situation or circumstance. So one of my mentors actually explains it as you've got the person in jail, but you have to stand there and hold the key. And when you forgive them or you forgive the situation, you can drop the keys and walk away because what happens to them has nothing to do with you. And if
ah.
they are acting in, as you said, I love that word, nefarious intentions, if they are acting in that way, something's going to happen. They're going to get taken care of, right? But I don't need to stand there and hold the key and keep them locked up anymore. I'm going to free myself and walk away. And so, there are so many people in our lives that we need to forgive, but ultimately, the number one person is ourselves.
True.
And forgiving ourselves for making the decisions that put us into certain places or for allowing certain people to treat us certain ways, right? And so ultimately that moment of recognition that I don't have to keep myself imprisoned anymore. What I did was always with the best of intentions and with the information that I had at the time. And so I'm going to release myself and I'm going to forgive myself for anything, any mistakes, we'll say in quotations because I don't truly believe in that, but any mistakes that I've made in the past or any misjudgments or miscalculations or missteps, I'm going to let myself out of jail for that. And I'm going to walk forward in grace. And that to me is the most beautiful moment.
Wow, that is profound, I think.
Mm.
And again, another perspective. I personally have an issue with forgiveness. I don't understand because I am in the mindset of what you said in the beginning
Hmm.
of it allows the person uh, that it's okay what they did or how it
Yep.
interacted and
Yep.
like letting them off the hook. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh no. So um I try and hope I can forget before
Hmm.
I forgive. And that's, the difference. And it's like, all right. And then people, um, murderers and things like that. And when people go into court and say, I forgive you, I mean, I have no judgment against them. That is what
Hmm.
but in my brain, I'm not understanding. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, how does that free you? I don't understand. But the way you put it was
Hmm.
beautiful. And now it's like, let me see. Now I am very good at supporting and cheering on other people and
Hmm.
but not for myself. And
Hmm.
now, and because I have an issue with forgiveness, you just made me think about, okay, is it bottom line? Am I just judging myself and not forgiving myself? Is
Hmm.
that like the basis of everything? And now
Hmm.
that goes on to other people. So I'm like, wait a second, did you just call me out?
That's how gentle coaching is.
There you go. And this isn't
Yeah.
even a coaching session, but I'm getting plenty of things just from this interview. And what I love about it
Mhm.
is if I am,
Mhm.
are my subscribers and viewers are going to be as well.
I hope so.
So, even though we're not in a coaching session or you're not with them, you're
Yeah,
still going to be touching their lives just by us chatting.
that's phenomenal. I love that, and I'm so happy for that.
Yeah.
I mean, the more that we can spread this message, the kinder, gentler, and happier that our world will be.
Yes, I totally agree.
Hmm.
So then one more thing, you have your upcoming RTT certification
Yeah.
and it enhance the way you help clients evolve. Can you tell us what RTT is and then why
Yes.
it's so important now for you to add on to your modalities?
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited about this, and I'm so excited that I actually found this teacher. So RTT stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy. It is a hypnosis certification. And originally, I decided to go get this certification so that I could use the word hypnosis in my marketing. And I've already been doing it. I've been using hypnosis for many years, but I just called it guided meditation. So I originally, my intention was, okay, I'll just go get this certification, and that way I can say, I am a certified hypnotherapist. And then I start learning this modality, and RTT in and of itself is, I I think honestly one of the most phenomenal and fascinating modalities that I have ever learned of all of my certifications, of all of my training, because this specifically gets to the root cause of any trauma, any illness, any belief system, limiting belief system that you have that's going on. We can work on anything. I've helped people with addiction. I've helped people with anxiety disorders. I've helped, let me think, confidence issues, simple, public speaking. I'm terrified to speak in public. We can take care of that in one session. You can go and speak in front of 5,000 people and be just fine and comfortable with it just through this one hypnosis session. RTT works with people with eating disorders. It works with anxiety, depression. It's PTSD. It's absolutely amazing when you learn how to take a client from, so you're doing a what's called a rapid, oh, I'm losing the word right now, induction. So it's a rapid induction, taking them down into alpha and then eventually theta,
Right.
right? And then what we're doing is we are talking about in your subconscious brain, we're talking about the root causes, and we take you back to memories, and I'll explain that in a second, but we take you back to memories and mostly childhood, sometimes it's adult, that led to the reason why you are suffering from this XYZ belief system now.
Hmm.
And we link those together, and you're doing actually the work. I'm just guiding you through it. You're doing the work, and you're recognizing how these past experiences have all come together to help you create this limiting belief that's been blocking you, or help you create this physical ailment that, believe it or not, the reason why we have physical ailments most of the time is to protect us and we don't even realize it. Sometimes it's to punish us, sometimes it's for attention. Those are the three reasons. But that's why physical ailments come on. And through the studies with epigenetics, which is another passion of mine, we've found that genetics are only 5% passed on. And so when somebody says, oh, I have a genetic disorder, most of the time that came on because of environment, not because of genetics.
Right.
95% of the time. So, we create these illnesses, we create the depression, we create the anxiety to protect us from something that's going on in our life or from someone. And so then once we get that link, we go through a transformation process. And the transformation process is where that instilling of the new belief system comes into play. And again, we're not allowed to say heal, we're not allowed to say cure.
Right.
However, we know that people are getting off of our tables no longer addicted, no longer sick, no longer anxious, no longer depressed. And so it is really a phenomenal, phenomenal tool that in about a month's time, will be fully certified. And again, I've been taking clients, I have been using it, and then, I have graduation day in about a month, and I'll be a fully certified RTT therapist.
Oh, you're gonna have to let me know because I want to celebrate you when you graduate.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I am very excited.
So all this transformation, no magic mushrooms involved, right?
No, no. And you know what? And you laugh. That is huge in my world. It's not something that I personally partake in.
Right.
It's not something that I've ever needed. That through my own meditation practice, I've been able to get into altered states, and then I'm able to get my clients into altered states without using anything. And not that there's anything wrong with using those things, but there are people who don't want to put foreign substances in their body. And
Yep.
so it's great to let them know that there are other ways, there are other means of accessing altered states of consciousness. And so you don't have to do the hallucinogenic drugs, and you don't have to do the ayahuasca and the kambo and all of those. And again, not to say I'm not against them. I think that they're working wonders. The studies that are going on right now with soldiers and PTSD, and using some of those what's the classification? I'm forgetting the word, but using some of the psychedelic drugs,
Right.
it's been phenomenal. And I would never want to take that away from someone. But I also want people to know that there are other means as well, so that if they're not comfortable with that, they have somebody that they can come to.
Yeah, and that I love because I am in that camp. I won't judge anybody.
Mhm.
You do whatever you need to. I personally have never taken any drugs, and I don't want to. Even when I had to go, surgeries and coming out of anesthesia, I hate that feeling.
Yes,
I
yes,
hate
me
the
too.
feeling of not being in control, although
Yep.
I know control is an illusion. Uh, but it just I hate that. I'm dizzy in general, chronically, so I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't need any substances to help me get it there.
Yeah.
And some people had said, about magic mushrooms, or some other, prescription stuff, or
Sure.
I'm not thinking
There's
of the
ketamine trials right
yes,
now, and
ketamine
yes,
and
yep,
stuff. I
yep,
don't want any of that,
yeah.
because I don't know what's going to alter my brain
Hmm.
where I can't get it back. I mean,
Yeah,
yes, I need to alter my brain to be in a better state and live a better life. I
yep,
totally understand that, and I know I do, but I don't really want to try the substances for that. So you are the perfect person for someone like me who,
hmm,
okay, at least let's try that way. And if you get to it without us having to take substances and stuff, then
yes.
jackpot.
Yes, and that's the wonderful thing, because our brains already know how to do this. They already know how to access different consciousness levels. And they can just by manipulating the hormones that your brain is releasing, you can get into those altered states of consciousness. And so you don't need to use substances. Now, some people, again, their choice, their decision,
We
and I've
don't
got
judge.
nothing against it. No, not at
Right,
all. Not at all. And I love talking to people who have had wonderful experiences with it.
right,
But I've talked with enough people who have had poor experiences with it too.
right,
And so that's why it is important for me to get the word out that you don't need to use substances in order to access those altered states of consciousness.
right. And with someone like you, what's the harm? Let's try
Mhm.
that first. And then if you're not getting results, or you're not getting where you need to, you can always default to that. But if you go there first, now
Yeah.
you've already, I don't even know, what to
Yes.
say, but you've tried that. Why not start with you and then go to other things if you need to? And if you don't, then you've won.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to be honest with you, in 10 years of doing this, I've never had anybody not able to get to where they want to go. Sometimes it does take more than one session,
Sure.
but that has more to do with your comfort level and your ability to be vulnerable. And so that comes from building a rapport. And, that's always my number one thing first is before there's ever any money exchange or ever any treatments discussed, the very first thing we do is we have a conversation. And that conversation is complimentary, and it's to make sure that you and I can build a rapport together. Because if you aren't able to be vulnerable with me,
Right.
then there's really no sense in us working together because what I do won't work.
Right. All bets are off. I
Yeah.
always thought, when we go to somebody for help, and of course it has to be somebody trustworthy and,
Hmm.
again, that nefarious thing we don't want to get in that circle. But I always thought even when people are going through therapy or just their regular doctor or their holistic practitioner, anything,
Hmm.
when you're guarded and you're not honest with them, you
Hmm.
are hurting yourself. You are
Yes.
going to them for a reason. So be open, be honest. You already know for me, I don't have a poker face. So even if I tried to go in there and shut down and all that kind of stuff, it wouldn't work. But I never understood people when they want help and they're going to somebody, why they block it. Now, some people are forced to go and they don't want to. I get
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
But, when you have an opportunity to get help, to get out of a place that is not healthy for you and you feel it,
Hmm.
be open.
It's that comfort thing. We've got to go back to the comfort thing, right? They're not comfortable being open. They've been taught, they have some kind of past experience that has taught them that it's not safe to be open. It's not okay. It's something bad is going to happen if I open up or if I'm vulnerable.
Huh,
And so it's really difficult for quite a few people, believe it or not. They come seeking help, but they do come in with all kinds of guards up and all kinds of blocks. And then it's on the therapist, the counselor, the coach, whoever they're working with, to, if they can, melt the defenses,
right.
and that comes from that authenticity, right? If I, and that's where I think it's sometimes harder for a therapist because they've got so many restrictions on them, or I'm going to say like a licensed therapist, right?
Right.
Where the difference between coaching and therapy, I could have become a psychologist. I could have gone down that path. I chose not to because of all of the restrictions that
Yes.
would have been on me that would have stopped me from being able to connect with a person,
Right.
and so that's why coaching is the better modality for me because I have a much easier time melting those defenses and working through those restrictions and those blocks with them when I don't have to sit there and watch what I'm saying and be very careful that Dora is looking over my shoulder or something like that. And don't get me wrong, I think the world of psychologists and psychiatrists and all of the work that they're doing. I just couldn't be that restricted. And so
Right.
that's why I chose to do this instead. Um, it is worth putting in though to be very careful because there is no licensure for coaches. You've got to be very careful in the coaches that you select and make sure that your coach has gone through a reputable training, not just a weekend long seminar that gave them a piece of paper that calls them a coach. I've got, oh my goodness, hundreds of thousands of dollars into my own education. I've got multiple certifications. I have worked with the best in the world, and I made sure that I was willing to invest in myself and in my education in order to be the very best coach that I can be. And so it is sometimes frustrating to not have that governing body because I'm standing side by side with somebody who went and did this, got sort of the same certification over a 7 hour free course online.
Right.
So there's good and bad when it comes to not having a governing body.
So not all coaches are created equal, is what you're
No.
trying to tell us.
Yes, not, and I mean, I think that everybody has great intentions. I truly do. I believe that anybody who goes into coaching goes into it because they want to help people. And I think that that's wonderful. However, there's an awful lot to being aware, being able to select clients, being able to stay in your own lane and not cross over into a space where I don't deal with diagnosis. You know, if somebody comes to me and tells me they have some type of psychopathy or anything like that, my answer is, I'm so sorry. That's not in my wheelhouse, and I'm going to refer you to one of the very many amazing psychologists that I know. And they're the ones that you need to go to get treatment. But if it's somebody who is just having a hard time with life, or like we've talked about, those limiting beliefs, those past trauma experiences, things like that, I'm more than happy to take them on and to work with them. And that is in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So that's kind of your ideal client, or um, just give us another quick um, account of who are the perfect people, not perfect people, but who are the people that should come and seek you out?
So, funny enough, my niche was designed by my clients, not by me. But I tend to attract small business owners, medium and large business owners. And that's why my clients are all over the world, because I tend to work most with entrepreneurs. And so, you know, it's somebody who owns their own business and they can be a solopreneur. And I've got clients that have hundreds of employees under them. And so I'm really working mostly in the space of business development with entrepreneurs who have come up against some type of block, something, some kind of obstacle that they don't feel like they can overcome, and they don't know why. And so that's typically the person that I work the most with now. In the past, I was working so much with people. We're in Colorado Springs. I was working with soldiers over on Fort Carson. They weren't allowed to come to me per rules of military. However, they could come to me without letting their CO know, and we were doing beautiful work. And from the soldiers that I was working with, their number one testimonial was that I had done more for them in one session than 7 years of therapy.
Huh.
And so that always just really warms my heart. So I really work well with past trauma experiences, especially PTSD, and teaching you how to reevaluate and then reassign and redefine what PTSD means. And I would love to start working again with the military population. So I've been working with a couple people between the Air Force Academy and Fort Carson to start bringing soldiers back into my world.
Yeah, they have all these programs now for the military, and now I'm drawing a blank with the VA
Hmm.
organization
Hmm.
in town. Oh, Mount Carmel.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yep.
And they are bringing in other modalities and stuff
Hmm.
other than what was there. So I wonder if you have a contact there or something to just say, hey, this has been the experience. Is there anything I can do to help? Because they really need help.
Hmm.
So that is definitely, um, especially being in the military community, we need our soldiers to be the best that they can be and feel that way, whether they're still in the military or they got out and have
Yeah.
trauma. They need our care and love and be able to get back into society and feel good about that.
Yes. Yeah.
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 So then I know you're in Peyton, and right now
Hmm.
you do your sessions
Hmm.
in Peyton and over Zoom because
Hmm.
it's not just geographical. You can do it anywhere. Or if
Hmm.
somebody doesn't want to come out of their house, or it's easier, and you're looking for a place in Colorado Springs again because you had an office there, and now
Hmm.
you're looking for another one. So tell our viewers where they can find you and how they can contact you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is courtneydematteo.com, very easy. And you can actually book a session, book a consultation right on my website. That's usually the easiest. You can also send me an email, and that's Courtney at courtneydematteo.com. So those are probably the two easiest ways to find me. I'm also on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm not hugely active on either one of those, to be honest with you. But I am there and I'm posting, and you can absolutely find me and see that I am legitimate and, doing the work that I say that I'm doing.
Right. Okay, great. And I will have those links in your Colorado Springs Town Tidings article, and people can find you there. I will link to the article from any of these videos, so they'll be able to see that too.
Hmm. The one other thing that I'd love, if it's okay, I'd love to bring up.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
So the one other offering that I have that is, I think, a little bit more accessible for people, because sometimes, prices can be hard and coaches aren't allowed to take insurance. But I offer something called E3, and it's a three-phase coaching program. It's live. You get me in a group session once a week, and each phase has its own timeline. So phase one is for 3 months, but phase one is the empower phase. And phase one is all about recognizing these limiting beliefs, recognizing where in your life you feel like you want it to be better, be stronger, be happier, be more fulfilled. And we actually look at what is stopping you from becoming who it is you really want to be. And we work through over 12 weeks of time, so 3 months, we work through all of these limiting beliefs, and you learn ways to release the limiting beliefs. And I add in some of the energy work as well. And then phase two and phase three are each 2 months, so 8 weeks long. And phase two is the enlighten phase. And enlighten is all about living what we call level two, where you are getting into the world of manifestation, which is simply understanding that you are either creating your life by design or by default. And most of the people are creating their life by default without realizing the power that they have. And so this wakes you up to the power of creation and the fact that you have the ability to create your life the way that you want it to be. And then the final phase is evolve. And the idea of that is really understanding, getting into the science and magic together and coming to a place where you can be the very best version of yourself. And so, again, these are group sessions. You can do it one-on-one with me as well. But the more attainable, when we're talking monetarily, the more attainable would be these group sessions. I keep the group small, it's intimate, and people really, really see a huge difference in their life, even if you're only in phase one. I work with so many business owners, and their businesses turn around. They go from failing businesses to thriving businesses in 3 months' time. And so it's really a fabulous course. It's one that I designed myself through my own pitfalls. I've made my own mistakes and I learned from them. And then I wrote a course about life and how to play it in a much better, on a much bigger scale, and a more complete way. And so I just wanted to make sure that people know that that's available too.
Oh, great. Do you find that people still open up in that small group setting?
Yes. And that's the beautiful thing about the group, is that you're with people who are at the same point as you. They've all come to me for a reason. And I strongly believe in the universe's, just the knowledge, right? The wisdom of the universe, and bringing the right people together at the right time. And so again, I keep the group small, but you become a support team for each other.
Right.
And so you have a team of cheerleaders who want nothing but the best for you. And for some people, it's the first time that they've ever experienced a group of people who are there solely to help them grow and help them become better. And so it's really a powerful, powerful thing to do this process in a group setting.
Wow. And you're right. I think as we grow up, there are plenty of people who don't want you to succeed, and that's the experience we have most often. So this is a refreshing experience for anyone. So do
Mhm.
you start, do you, when you do these groups, do you have a start and finish and then do a different one, or do they come in at any time?
No, these ones do have containers, so we do have a start and an end date. I actually have one starting. The very first session is on Monday, so there's a little bit of time if anybody's interested. But I do start them about once every 2 months. I start a new group, and the groups have been anywhere from two people. I don't start it unless I have at least two people, but they're anywhere from 2 to 5 people plus myself. And I keep it small on purpose so it can stay intimate and so everyone can feel heard and seen in the groups.
And do you have that on your website when the groups are starting?
So I don't have the calendar of when it starts. That's what I do on Facebook is I say, hey, next phase one of E3 is starting in so many weeks. And a lot of times too, it's by referral from people who are in my current groups. They say, I've got this friend, I've got this colleague, I've got this, employee who really needs this. Can you give them a call? When are you starting your next one? And so the majority of my groups are filled through referral. I don't have to do much marketing, funny enough, for it, but I do want to get the word out there that they do exist and that they are very, very powerful.
Right. So for any of our viewers or listeners, I wanted to let them know if they're interested in it,
Hmm.
where to go to find out when the next one is happening. And it sounds like you start them when you have at least two people, and then,
Yes.
I don't know if you overlap them at all, but I
Always.
guess,
Yes.
yeah. So when it's time because
Yep.
you have people in need, and then
Yep.
you can start them and then do them in tandem or something where, okay, this one's at this phase, but then we're starting, the others. So it may, even though you say it's about every 2 weeks, that's the about is
Mhm.
when you have enough to fill a group, then you'll start a new one.
Yep.
Sounds like.
Yep. Absolutely. So if I get emails or if I get, messages, text messages or whatever saying, hey, I'm really interested in E3, I'll start doing consultations. And again, it always starts with that phone call, right? That one discussion. Let's see if you and I are a good fit.
Right.
And then if it's determined that they do want this, that we are a good fit, then, I'll let them know, okay, this is when the next one is starting. I take a deposit, they get their materials, they get to start looking at their materials, and then we start when we have enough people to start that next group.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you for sharing that part. Is there anything else we might have missed that you want others to know?
If anybody's ever interested in a plain old Reiki session, I'm perfectly happy to do that as well. I do still have quite a few clients that are simply Reiki clients, and that's where they feel the most help. And so I'm always available for those too.
Right. So basically, contact you if you're having any blocks or issues that you're just tired of constantly feeling, or the way your life is going, to just contact you, go on the website, you can
Hmm.
email you, whatever contact is best for them, and just have a conversation and then go from there.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm always happy to talk.
Right. Well, that's all the time we have today. Courtney, thank you for sharing your wisdom and insights with our Colorado Springs community. To our viewers or listeners, join us next week for another fascinating local business spotlight. Remember to subscribe to Colorado Springs Town Tidings at cos.towntidings.com and keep you in the know on the go. Thank you.